You ain't with me now, don't come around when I start popping. Why you asking me to drop the price, but you plug hopping? One for in and one for out, I feel like this my only option. Liddy quick to blow, so when you step, better step with caution. You ain't never buying, why you always ask me what it's costing?
Bro, alright fam, what I really need to tell you that's really important, fam, is we're finding out Uncle Nelson's real identity, fam. If you don't know who Uncle Nelson is, he's from Schedule 1, you know. He's the one that, you know, guides you through the game in the beginning. But we're finding out his real identity. Is he working for the feds? Is he working for the rival cartel? What is he working, fam? Who's he working for? You know, because like when you first hop in the game, he knows your RV gets blown up, but he's not there. He knows, you know, what happens, but he's not there. Like he's watching you some way, somehow. You know? So we're gonna figure out his real identity. We're gonna get to the bottom of this, fam, because ain't no way Uncle Nelson's tricking me, fam. You know? I'm gonna call this nigga out when I see him, fam. So yeah, let's see his real identity, fam. So we're gonna see his real identity. We're gonna find out the truth, because we need to find out the truth, fam. He can't be tricking his nephew to do some, you know. So let's see.
Uncle Nelson is the very first character that we meet in Schedule 1.
Yep.
But who is he really? I dug deep to learn as much as possible about him, and I've uncovered debts, addictions, how long he'll be in prison, and even connections to the Benzies family. It all started from the very beginning. Our first objective of the game is to speak with Uncle Nelson. Here,
I think this is the prologue.
Package for him in town. We have some customers of our own lined up, so we
teaching you how to, you know, play the game.
The motel, and that everything's all paid for. We arrive and see two guys waiting outside of the motel. However, once we get chatting, we're told a different story here. These guys say that the package we're picking up is in fact not paid for. And even worse, Uncle Nelson actually owes them a good bit of money.
Damn.
This is completely opposite of what Nelson told us. But
what did he say? Uncle Nelson said, so they said they didn't get payment from Uncle Nelson, but what did Uncle Nelson say?
A good bit of money. This is completely opposite of what
he said. He got some business with a few people at the motel and told them that. All right, so he got some people, you know, at the motel selling some, and he wants us to pick it up, right? But it's already paid for.
Nelson told us, but they say that he's been good on his word, so they'll hand it over. Now, while we're there, we also ask for some seeds for ourselves, and they agree under the terms that if Nelson fails to pay, we're gonna be next in line. So how could this situation happen? Why would Uncle Nelson tell us it's all paid for if it isn't? And if he's been good on his word before, why does he owe them money now? Well, there's a few ideas of what could be going on here. Uncle Nelson is currently wheelchair bound. We're not sure how long he's been in the wheelchair, but there's a chance that he's had an accident recently. If this is the case, it could be causing two different issues. Clearly, he is involved in the drug trade, but he might be having trouble distributing as much product as before, leaving him with less money. He may have also been prescribed painkillers from the doctors that have gotten him addicted. He could be spending all of his money, or maybe he's just resorted to using his own substances. This could even ruin the relationships he's built up due to his addictions. Another possible but more unlikely situation is that he's developed other issues. This could include gambling addiction. There's no casino in Serena Flats, but I wouldn't put it past him to be betting on crackhead races or even underground bingo. We also have to consider the fact that when we went into town, a police officer stopped and searched us. During this interaction, he says that he knows we and our uncle are up to something on the ranch and that they're not going to tolerate us for much longer.
So they're probably gonna raid him
one day before the ranch is
raided.
Oh
shit.
So could Uncle Nelson have known that he was gonna get caught? Maybe he stopped caring about racking up a tab with local suppliers. He might have seen this coming and just not cared about maintaining relations.
So you drive the RV to the other place? I need to play the prologue.
Due to Uncle Nelson being locked up and unable to pay his tab, that means we're next in line like they said. We fled the town to avoid capture, so those men might be trying to track us down to recoup their money. If we flash back to that scene, what's one thing that you notice here? Something maybe about their clothing? Well, both men are wearing green. Could this be a signature of their crew or even cartel? I mean, two men in matching green, they're either a cartel or a very aggressive landscaping company. In all seriousness, I have some major information about this green color. In all of the game's trailers, there's only one scene where it shows us fighting other people. Now look here and tell me what you see.
They're wearing
Two
green.
Men exit a car firing guns at us, and they're both wearing green.
So, damn, he could be on. He could be on to something, fam.
Is known for green, and that these fellas in Serena Flats are part of the Benzies. Or there's another crew that we're gonna be fighting we have yet to meet. The Benzies family is a powerful cartel operating in Highland Point. Uncle Nelson knew this, but do these men in Serena Flats have connections to either the Benzies or Highland Point? After we fled Serena Flats, we were attacked on our first day in the new city. Could they have tipped off the Benzies knowing that we were heading there? Well, there's also a more sinister idea as well. Uncle Nelson previously lived in Highland Point, so if he has any ties to the Benzies family, whether he was even a founder, member, or just a close business partner, it would be in his best interest to take us out of the picture. Nelson was just locked up on federal charges, and one of his closest witnesses is still walking. If we ever get caught for dealing, there would be a risk of us giving up information on him, so he might have contacted the Benzies to have us taken care of.
That's crazy.
One of the flaws
Uncle
with this
Nelson
part of
has
the
money
theory
on our
is
head,
that
fam.
When we get to Highland Point, he's encouraging us to start dealing, which wouldn't make sense if he didn't want us to get arrested. Another thing to know is that the character of Uncle Nelson has some pretty important similarities to the character of Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad. Both characters are wheelchair bound, both characters are called Uncle, or in Hector's case Tio, which is Spanish for uncle, and they even have a slightly similar look going on with the gray hair. The reason this could be important is because Hector is a high-ranking cartel member in the show, so could that be another similarity we just have yet to be revealed? I bet if we were close to the RV before it exploded, we probably would have heard a bell ringing before it goes off. I do have to make it clear though, that's just a joke, I don't believe it. I'm sure someone in the comments would have said, actually, in multiplayer I was near the RV and I didn't hear a bell, so that's false, buddy. So, yeah, that's a joke. Anyways, moving on. So, back to our deal in Serena Flats. There's a chance that the two men we met with aren't actually with the Benzies. They could
Then who would they be with?
undercover agents posing as cartel members. In one of the game trailers, we see that our interaction there was actually being watched by an officer in the distance. Uncle Nelson has likely been followed by the feds to Serena Flats where they've continued to gather evidence on him, and I'm not gonna lie, these guys do kinda give off undercover vibes. So the feds finally decide they have enough evidence after we accept the pseudo for Nelson, and then the ranch is raided the next day. We're able to escape while Uncle Nelson is locked up, but will we ever see him again? Well, we can estimate how long Uncle Nelson will likely be spending in prison. He states that the feds have caught him, which implies he's being charged on crimes.
I should have played the prologue. I'm gonna play the prologue, fam.
We know he's lived in both Highland Point and Serena Flats, so at least 2 different locations. Depending on the quantity of substances that were found when he was arrested, it's going to determine the length of his sentence.
How much did he have?
If he was in possession of large amounts of marijuana, he could be looking at a mandatory minimum 5-year sentence, all the way up to 40 years. However,
5 to 40
may actually be worse. The package we retrieved for Nelson was pseudo, the main ingredient in methamphetamine. We see a cooking station along the side of his house, but in one of the game's trailers, we actually get a full glimpse into his basement. Here, we see a full-fledged meth production area that looks like Bill Nye is about to be using for his next episode. He's got a cooking station, baking station, packaging table, and even a press to turn his products into bricks. If he has any amount of methamphetamine down there, whether it's pure or just the mix, he's going to be charged according to Title 21 of the United States Code, Section 841. For manufacturing...
Damn, 5 grams or more of actual meth. 5 years mandatory minimum and 40 years max. Bro, what? That's crazy. So if you get caught on like anything meth related, is 5 to 40. Statutory, whatever the fuck that word says, maximum generally is 20 years. That's still 5 to 20. That's basically, you know, life. 10-year mandatory minimum and maximum. What? And that's for like 100 kilograms. Oh, that's marijuana. Oh, that's marijuana. But 5 grams or more, 40 years. Oh, so if you have any of these, or more, you go to 5 years to 40 years. So 50 grams or more of mixtures containing meth. Down 40 grams or more fentanyl, PCP, damn. So you automatically get, if you automatically get caught with motherfucking a gram of LSD, you go to 5 years in jail to 40 years. That's crazy. And LSD could be like acid. Yeah, all I know is acid. LSD probably is acid. I know acid has LSD. So if you get caught with, I mean, but acid doesn't even weigh that much. It probably weighs less than a 0.1, to be honest. It's just a little piece of paper. Damn. So if you have a gram of acid, that's a lot. That's like probably like a little good stack. Alright, it's probably like a full paper. You know? Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy, fam.
Measuring anywhere between 5 grams to 49 grams, this is gonna land you 5 to 40 years in jail. However, due to the brick press down there,
but,
we can assume
hold on. How much? Okay, 10 years to and the maximum life. 50 grams or more of actual meth, you could get 10 years to life. 500 grams of anything that's basically gonna cause you to make meth is gonna be 10. Like, you know, that's crazy. And what? 1,000 or more plants, 1,000 kilograms of marijuana, or 1,000 or more plants. So let's say, why would you even have 1,000 motherfucking plants of marijuana? So basically a weed farm, you're gonna get charged with 10 to life, basically, if you have a big ass fucking weed farm. You know? That's just crazy, fam. Crazy. That's why drug dealing is risky, fam. That's why when I did it, I stayed on the low. Even when I was selling downtown, I would sell to homeless people, right? I would go downtown on the VO bus. Boom. Even if I didn't work that day, I just go downtown on the VO bus, you know, with some weed. I would probably go with like a quad, right? So I knew I was gonna sell to homeless people. That's why I went downtown. I was like, man, what if I just started selling to homeless people downtown? So that's what I did. I did it for like 3 days. Right within those 3 days, I made like $80. You know, like in a total of $80. It's pretty good. $80 within 3 days. I'm selling to homeless people. It's not that bad. But you also gotta mind this. I would only get like 2 ounces, and then I would get no more than 2 ounces every time I sold. The reason I say that is because I didn't know how to save my money. So every time I had re-up money, I would spend it on something else other than re up. So I'm good at selling. I can get my shit gone within a week. The most I had it was a week and a half. You know, that was rarely. But I get my shit gone within a week. And then I could have like a couple $100, and I'll just spend that shit downtown. Other than read up, I should have read up. I probably would have had way more money. But yeah, like I just said to the homeless people, I'll be like, you want a 0.5 for $5 or less, you know? They'll be like, yeah, fuck it. So I'll get a nug, rip it up. I'll make it like to a 0.5, and then once I see like it's about a 0.5, I'll rip that 0.5 in half and give them less than a 0.5. I'll be like, here you go. Sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they'll be like, man, what the fuck is this? I'm like, man, that's 0.5. They're like, what do you mean it's 0.5? I was like, fam, that's a 0.5. That's I bought 0.5. What the fuck you mean? You didn't give me money? Right? Because I still had it in my hand. I was like, you didn't give me money for this? Or nah, so I could just walk off. I started walking off. He called me back. It's like, fam, just, you know, here. He gave me money. That interaction, I think I got like $5 or $4 for something less than a 0.5. You know, I was ripping off the homeless people. But fuck it, taking the last dollar for some weed. And then I told my cousin about it. He was like, you know what they do with the weed? They just give it off to someone else for some crack. I was like, damn, that's crazy. That little bit of weed get you some crack. Yeah, I was like, that's crazy. I don't think that's true though. So yeah, let's get back to the video.
5 to 40 years in jail. However, due to the brick press down there, we can assume he could easily have over 1,000 grams of methamphetamine, and any amount over 50 grams could land him 10 years to life in prison. There's also federal charges such as Title 21 Section 843 that can add on additional time if Nelson has used texts or emails in order to schedule drug deals.
Damn, and Uncle Nelson's been calling us a lot. So what I'm thinking is he's trying to get us caught up too, so we could go into the pinta with him, you know. So we'll go like, what's up, Uncle Nelson? You know, let's chop it up, woo. Nah, fam, you got me in here. You knew what you were doing, calling me on the phone, texting me, fam. You know, you didn't have to do all that. You could just wrote letters or something, fam. Contact me a different way, bro. Like, why'd you gotta do that? You knew what you were doing. You were trying to get me locked up. What? But now let's get back into the video, fam. Let's skip this ad. Hold on.
I know as the player we certainly have, with residents straight up texting us, yo, can I get a gram of OG Kush? This charge can add up to 4 years per count.
Damn, I know in real life on my phone I had that shit, bro. So that means if I would have got caught on 4 years per person, 4, 8, 16, 4, 8, 12, 16. Then there's more, and I'm just at 16. That's 16 fucking years federal prison, fam. Just for 4 people. Fuck, fam. I can't do that. I'm going on the run if that happens, bro. Like on the run, fam. You know, ain't nobody seen me again type of run. You know, like I'm moving to Germany or Nebraska type of run. You know, Australia, somewhere where US don't have jurisdiction. So fam, if I ever get caught up with that shit, I'm out of here, out the state.
Another major issue Nelson has is that he carries around a pistol with him. This enhances his sentencing with the charge of possessing a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. It's like, imagine if Rockstar had control over his sentencing and they wanted to throw in something that's extended and enhanced. So this charge comes with a mandatory sentence of 5 years, served consecutively, meaning that it's going to add years onto any additional charges and must be fully served before the other sentences can continue. Nelson most likely hasn't been paying accurate taxes on his profits either. I know it's crazy, but you actually are supposed to pay taxes on your drug profits, so this could...
What? IRS guidance for thieves, drugs dealers, and corrupt officials. If you receive bribes, include it in your income. Income from illegal activity, such as money from dealing illegal drugs, must be included in your income on 41040. Line 21 are on Schedule C or Schedule CEZ from 1040. Inform your self-employment activity. If you steal property, you must report its fair market value in your income in the year you steal it, unless in the same year you return it to its rightful owner. If you steal property, you must report its fair market value in your income in the year you steal it, unless in the same year you return it to its rightful owner. Bro, this is crazy. Ain't nobody reporting their illegal activities to the IRS. That's 101. That's 101 on how to get caught up. Let me put me selling 3 ounces of weed on my taxes. You know, how'd you get this money? I sold 3 ounces of weed. Oh, nice. Here you go. Then they call the SWAT team. Hey, I need the SWAT at this person's address. He's been selling some weed. You know, we need to break down. Boom. The SWAT team goes up. Boom, bro. But that's dumb as fuck. That's one way to get raided. And that's one way you get arrested by the police. Why would you want to put that shit on your taxes, bro? Then you gotta be dumb as fuck if you putting that shit on your taxes. For real, fam. Like, straight up, for real, fam. That does not need to be on your taxes for no reason at all. If you steal something, fam, okay, you steal it. Don't tell nobody. If you're doing illegal activities, don't tell nobody. You know? Because word's gonna get around. And you're gonna go to jail. Either way, if you don't get caught, then you don't get caught. You stay a free man. But there's a 50% chance. You always gotta remember that. You always gotta remember if you're doing some illegal shit, there's a 50% chance you might get caught, and you know the risks that's coming to you, fam.
Potentially add up to 5 years to his sentence. What's more likely though is that the IRS will submit for the forfeiture of his assets, such as his ranch, truck, and any other items that they can get money from. They probably won't be selling off the meth. They definitely won't be able to retrieve any money from the RV either. Although the land Nelson lives on is called a ranch, we don't see any farm equipment or things that would lead us to believe he's been laundering money. Otherwise, that would lead to additional charges. Based on all of this information, we can estimate that Uncle Nelson will be sentenced to a minimum of 15 years, with the possibility of spending life in prison. Most of these charges also can't be reduced due to good behavior, so he's gonna have to sit in prison throughout the entire sentencing or at least serve the minimum terms. Now, as we said earlier, Uncle Nelson may have caught on to the idea that the law was closing in on him. His only hopes at getting out of jail anytime in the near future would be if either A, he was able to remove as much evidence as possible. We do see one of his cooking stations outside of his house on the day before the raid, so maybe he had already been removing some of his things. Problem is, since the feds have been tracking him for so long, they probably already have more than enough evidence that's not based on what he's caught with. His only other option would be B, if he can give up more valuable information. We wouldn't
Nah,
like to view
fam,
our
if Uncle Nelson,
as a rat,
nah,
but
bro.
if he has information regarding the Benzies family or other powerful groups, he may be able to get certain charges dropped in return for this information. And as we were talking about earlier, there is this little theory that maybe he's a founder of the Benzies, worked with the Benzies, or even was part of them at one point. So if this is true, he could use that as leverage to get some of his charges dropped, if not all of them. On the other hand though, the Benzies already don't like us, and if he gets out based on giving them up, they are gonna want us both dead, gone, off the earth. In actual reality, since this game is based on kind of goofy ideas, if we were to ever see Nelson again, it would probably be because we do some crazy jailbreak to free him, or maybe he really does walk free after beating the case. I don't think
Nelson's beating the case. I don't think he's beating the case,
he's allowed us to stay with him, and he's sort of taken us under his wing. We're not sure what happened to our parents or any of our other relatives, but here we are staying with good old Uncle Nelson. Maybe our parents are actually normal though, while we've decided to live a life of crime. In that case, maybe we are the bad guys. Check out my other Schedule 1 content right here. I've got another theory on why there's curfew.
Bro, I was trying to move my motherfucking headphones like it was the mouse, bro. Nah, but that's crazy. If Uncle Nelson snitches on us, fam, it's up Uncle Nelson. No matter what the fuck he's in jail, fam. You know, it's up. You're not going down for motherfucker in jail. Hey, what the fuck you doing, fam? You wanna get beat up? Beat that nigga up with some motherfucking pillows. You know, put a lock in the pillow. Wow. Put a soap in the pillow. Wow. You know, break his bones, fam. Ain't nobody snitching on us when we, you know, you're doing the drug trafficking trade, fam. And there's no way we're putting it on our taxes, fam, because ain't no way. Like, is that actually true? Like, I have to put it on my taxes, bro. Let me see. Let me see. Yes, you are legally required to report income from illegal activities such as selling drugs on your federal income tax. Bro, they want us to report a federal crime to the IRS, to the federal government, just so we could get backstabbed. You know, you're selling drugs? Let me take you off the street, fam. You know, get rid of us, put us in jail. Then they're gonna use it in court. Them black, you really reported you selling drugs on your IRS report. You reported yourself, fam. We didn't have to do much digging. This is all that we needed, you know, to raid your motherfucking house. It was just like, and you just be like, damn, bro, they literally caught me because my fucking tax report. I bet you're not gonna be stupid enough to do that again after you do your 40 years. Depending on how much you get caught with. If you get caught with 1,000 grams and you do 40 years, you bet you're not gonna do that shit again, fam. But with that being said, that's gonna be the end of this video. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that motherfucking subscribe button, turn on post notifications, you know. And also, I'm dropping a video of me playing Call of Duty with my friend, you know. So if you want to see that, you know, hit that motherfucking like button, hit that motherfucking subscribe button, get us to about 10 to 15 likes. And to me, the video is funny, fam. When I play Call of Duty with my friend, it is funny. To me, it is. So hopefully y'all feel the same way. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.